Hello and welcome back to the Iron Side for today's video, which is going to be a season review. We're going to look at all things that's attributed to our season and whether it was poor or not. But before we jump into that, if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel, it helps us out massively. Now, on to the video. So there's a question down here that's really prudent. Is 14th at a European final a good season? So I've flip-flopped about a little bit with this question myself. Before the season, I would have taken that in a heartbeat. I would have said, yeah, of course it is. Any final and a 14th place finish is great. But with the level of performances domestically this year, I can't help but question myself and that question. Has it been a good season? And the answer is no, it hasn't. If you take away the European football, this has been a dire season. And you've got to remember, we topped our group. So we went over a month without any European football. And obviously the World Cup as well. So it was a large period of time where we as West Ham fans didn't see a win coming. I remember there was a point, it was before the Southampton game, like a couple of weeks before, I can't remember who was playing, but I was looking at the results, the fixtures we had left and the level of performances, and I genuinely don't see where we're getting our next win from. And that's worrying. There was alarm bells at the end of last season. Our form dropped off massively, and we just attributed that to the fact we were still in the Europa League. We thought, well, he's prioritising the Europa League, and we sort of accepted it and took it. But then even after we went out of the Europa League, we was in freefall. We was just leaking goals, riddled with mistakes, abject performances on the pitch. It looked like the players didn't want to be there. And we saw that again in the first part of this season. There was a lot of questions asked by us as a fan base about whether the players wanted to be there. And I don't care what anyone says, there was people questioning Declan Rice at that time as well, all over Twitter. Now, I'm not saying his performances have been perfect all season, like all of the players. If they had been, we wouldn't be 14th. But the level of questioning, I don't want to say abuse because it wasn't quite abuse, but the level of questioning for players that have been long-time servants and players at the club. So Antonio is another one who gets a lot of stick. Rice, Cresswell, not so much this year, but back in the last season. Zuma got a lot of stick. Fabianski gets a lot of stick, myself included with that one. Bowen, Fornals. There's been a whole host of abject performances, and rightly the fans getting on their back at times. But why is that? Why did we struggle so much? Why have we struggled so much? And I know a lot of people will say that's down to Moyes and his coaching team, and a lot of it is. But what we fail to maybe see from an outside perspective is what they tried to do, what they want to do. The vision for West Ham this year was meant to be a more possession-based team with build-up and chance creation rather than a counter-attacking team. Now, you've seen a couple of players come out and say that. Antonio, again, big mouth Antonio, saying it in his silly little podcast that it didn't work, and it didn't work. He was saying what all the fans knew. It didn't work, so I don't know why we got so annoyed about it. Maybe because it's unprofessional, potentially. But he came out and said it wasn't working, so we had to revert back. And he was right, it wasn't working. But again, I go back to that question. Why wasn't it working? We had the players. We have players that can play ball. So why wasn't it working? And I think a key thing that people seem to overlook is that to have a possession-based team, to have it start from the back and build up through the layers to an attack, you have to have two centre-backs that can play football. And for the first half of this season, we didn't have that. Aguerd got injured pre-season against Rangers, so we had to play Ogbonna and Dawson next to Zuma. Ogbonna or Dawson next to Zuma. In fact, it was Dawson completely because Ogbonna was injured. But we also maybe had to play Kerr there. Kerr, for me, I don't think he's a centre-back. I don't think he's good enough. I think he's too mistake-ridden. But he is good on the ball for just play devil's advocate there. He can play football. But Dawson and Ogbonna aren't good with the ball at their feet. They get caught up. They want to have the ball in the air. And they want to have a combat with the striker. They don't want to play football in the sense of build-up play. Aguerd does. So if he had stayed fit, we'd have a Gerd and Zuma who can both play football. Then in front of them, you'd have Souček, Rice, Paquetá. Paquetá and Rice, of course, they can play football. They're very good footballers, very good on the ball. This is one thing that I question massively about Moyes earlier on in the season, is his tendency to always pick Souček. Now, he's had a bad season, Souček, at times, but he's got a lot better in recent weeks, and that's because we've reverted back to a counter-attacking team. He's not doing the things that makes him uncomfortable. In the early parts of the season, we were still trying to play through the lines and through the levels to build up attacks based on our possession. Souček cannot do that. He's not good with the ball at his feet. He put him in a tackle, he'll win it. Put him in the air, he'll win that header. He's not good at 1 and 2 touch passing. He can't do it, which is why I don't understand why Lanzini wasn't played more in that role as a third centre midfielder, alongside Rice and Paquetá, or even Fornals. They're both better on the ball than Souček. All Souček offers is he's tall, and he tends to allow Rice to get forward a little bit more. But in the early parts of the season, that was redundant. It didn't matter because he was isolated. He dived in here. His decision making's poor, and the amount of times that our attacks broke down when it got to Souček was tenfold. It was ridiculous. So when he's in a counter-attacking team, it's slightly different because he's that anchor point, and he's also an out because he's so tall. Because you tend to see him up near Antonio or on the wing a lot of the time in our attacks, and I think that's because we want to do cross-field passes, hit him, and then get the ball in the box. But in a possession-based team, it's overlooked. He's not utilised. So why Lanzini wasn't played there more, specifically Lanzini for me, because we see him in that role last season a bit when Rice was injured or was sent off. I can't remember what it was. But Souček let us down in that part. And then moving forward to the forward line, the signing of Scamacca now makes a lot more sense. When you look at it like this, Antonio cannot play 1 and 2 touch football. He cannot do these little intricate passes in tight spaces. He's a battering ram. You give him the ball and get him to run, he'll cause problems. But he cannot play 1, 2 touch passes and make a great run. That's not Antonio. Scamacca can. Scamacca can't do what Antonio does well, but equally Antonio can't do what Scamacca does well. The current system we're playing suits Antonio, but that's because it's a needs must. So I wouldn't be surprised if next season we go back to trying to make that possession-based football work. The key differences will be that we'll have a full pre-season with these players. So Paquetá, Scamacca and Gerd all lacked full pre-seasons with us for different reasons. We pivotal in replacing Rice and getting another midfielder in, so Souček doesn't have to play every week. But that's a different story. We'll go into that at another time. But that's what I think some of the main reasons were. They are the main reasons. I think Gerd was pivotal to what Moyes wanted to do. And he got injured and it messed up completely. We're having to put a square peg into a round hole. I'm now going to go into a few stats that I picked out as being real biggies in our season performance. So as you can see, our possession last year averaged higher than this year, and that's because we hit the panic button. We didn't actually have too many games where we dominated possession, even when we were trying to. And again, that's because it wasn't working. He persisted for too long, Moyes. I think that was, I don't want to say it's arrogance, but I think it's maybe him setting his ways like, no, this will work, this will work, this will work. Rather than seeing the players' capabilities and not realising that some of them were never going to be able to play that role on a consistent basis anyway. So last season we averaged just under 48%. This season just under 42%. I don't mind not having possession, for the record. I don't mind playing a counter-attacking style of play. When it's good, it's really good. And we showed that in the last 2 seasons because our counter-attacking football has been phenomenal. We created chances and we scored goals. But when we're trying to play counter-attacking football without any pace, without any end product, it becomes frustrating because it's like a game of basketball, but you're only playing with one hoop. So it's constant pressure, and then you get the ball, you clear it, and it's constant pressure again. That's all we've been seeing for large parts of this season. That's a worry for me against Fiorentina, but that's for another analysis is for another time. I did actually do um, I did a scout report for Fiorentina. If you haven't seen that, I'll put the card up here now. Go and check that out. We highlight some of the key players, some of the tactics, and what we need to look out for. I did that last week, so that's a good watch. If you haven't already, go and watch the video, drop a like on it. And this one actually, if you haven't done already, drop a like on this video. But anyway, that's enough of that. Goals scored. Now this is a biggie. It doesn't take a genius to work out we haven't scored enough goals this year. We only scored 42 goals this year domestically, so that's just over 1.1 goal a game. I think so. I don't know the actual average, but it's 42 goals scored compared to last year, which was 60. It just shows how much better we were. Chances taken. I don't know how more clinical we were. That's the word. We were so much more clinical last year because we haven't created that many fewer chances this year. So if we just skip down a couple, you'll see big chances per 90, second from bottom. Last year was 1.9. This year's only 1.6. That's a 0.3 difference. That's not masses. That's really not that big. So when you go back up to the goals scored, again, these are the key reasons why we've struggled. Goals against, not masses in it. We conceded 55 this year, 51 last. But again, if you score more, the conceded goals can be slightly higher. So we finished on an average of +9 last year. This year we're -13, which we took a couple of poundings, and it's not nice to watch your team getting battered. And then you jump down to the next one. Clean sheets, we actually had more this year, 9/8, which is good. I've really got on the backs of our keepers this year, so it's nice to see that they've kept more clean sheets than last year. Because I was surprised when I saw that. I didn't expect it at all. And then big chance of penalty, we just talked about it. And then for me, this is the biggest one. Errors leading to goals. We have been error laden this year. It reminds me of when we had Pellegrini with Roberto in goal and Balbuena at centre back. I liked Balbuena for the record, but that season he was just dreadful. We concede goals, and this season we've had so many errors. If it's not our defenders making mistakes, it's our midfielders. If it's not our midfielders, it's our goalkeepers not getting the ball clear from a shot or not getting down quick enough. It's ridiculous. Like it's been horrible at times this season with the errors that in big games as well. We've had errors in big games, like against Newcastle. I know it ended up finishing 5-1, but I wholeheartedly think that if we didn't concede that goal early on in the second half, we would have gone on and got a point at least. Similar to what happened against Arsenal. We did exactly the same thing. We get ourselves back into the game from 2-0 down because we've been poor up until that point. Get ourselves back into the game, and then we give away a penalty against Arsenal, give away a goal against Newcastle. And the penalty didn't go in. Saka missed the penalty for Arsenal, but Newcastle obviously scored their goal. And that was football's small margins, very small margins. We were okay against Arsenal after we got the first goal, and we were good against Arsenal after we got the first goal. We looked like the better team, and probably another 15 minutes in that game, we might have got the win. Newcastle, we started well that second half. We ended the first half very well, and then we give them a goal. We gift them a goal. Who was it? Was it Kera? It was Kera or Aged. One of them gave them a goal. I can't remember exactly what happened, but it was a gift. And it's just horrible. That little things like that make a massive difference. Then they go on and win 5-1. But stuff like that needs to be addressed. It needs to be dealt with. And we need to cut out the errors. Last year we only had 1. This year we've had 5. And this is all domestically, by the way. This is only in the Prem. So no cups or European games. I'll get rid of that stat table quickly. But them stats only tell part of the story. The main issue we've had is that I think the team really needed a full pre-season. I never got the importance of a 6-week pre-season until this season. I never really understood, because you hear it all the time. You didn't have a full pre-season. Oh, it'll be different next year with a full pre-season. And that 6 weeks of just training and getting the tactics is massive. This year, we've been playing catch-up. So because those 3 players I mentioned earlier, Scamacca, Paquetá and Aged, for different reasons, didn't have a full pre-season, they're playing catch-up. And then Cornet, if you add that into it as well. And the reason I say they're playing catch up, because if you look at it like this, we're not playing once a week. We had European football. And so we're playing on average twice a week, Sunday and Thursday, sorry. So rather than playing Saturday to Saturday, there's a game in between. So the Sunday, Thursday, Sunday, they're having two days to train, because one of those days in between has to be a rest day. They're having 2 days to train. 2 days not to train what they already know because they're in a new system, and not to just carry on and touch up things that they've already done, because they're getting to know the players, they're getting to know the team, they're getting to know the managers, the coaches, the staff, the training grounds, the facilities. They're having to learn all this stuff on the job. So it's like if you're a bricklayer and you have never laid a brick in your life, instead of going working on a building site and being a hod carrier, they're like, no, your first day, jump on the bricks. We want you to start laying them. It's going to take you months to get to lay a brick properly. And that's literally as simplistic as I can make it. You cannot do it quickly whilst you're on the job. The only way to do it is take away the pressure of the job itself, watch it, and then learn it as you go. In between, so the training ground is where the magic happens. On the pitch is just what we see. So this summer we need a pre-season. Whoever's leaving, whether Skamaka leaves, Rice leaves, anyone, whoever leaves, they need to be gone early in the summer. Our replacements need to be in. I don't want our summer to be like last year, where we're linked to every Tom, Dick and Harry. We end up changing names constantly, changing sites constantly, and then having to plug gaps. We need to have a vision of who we want. We need to be early in the transfer market, which, just for the record, we're not going to be. I'm going to come on this in 2 months' time and be frustrated as hell because we wouldn't have signed anyone. We'd be linked with everyone. But anyway, in an ideal world, we need to have our players in and the players that want out. So we can have a full pre-season. So Moyes can get on the training pitch, tell the team what he wants, set up how they're going to do it, and then we can start the season on a high. Right, I've rambled on for long enough. That is my preview for the season. I think it's been poor. In a nutshell, I think it's been poor. Let me know what you think of the season, and don't forget to answer our questions down here. Leave a comment down below, like and subscribe if you haven't already. And until the next one, which will be on Tuesday night, I'm going to do a match preview for our biggest game this season, and probably for the last 50, the preview for the Fiorentina game. So until that one, guys, thank you very much, and come on, you Irons.